Helps if you're not muted. Morning, guys. Wanted to do a run through for Saryn this morning. Saryn is kind of one of your best late game DPS. Technically, you farm her off of Marrow here on Sedna. However, on this list, it says 25 judgment points required. I have a bunch. You actually have to go back here to an arena and start winning fights to earn judgment points. So you can go to here and get more judgment points. You can go to here and get the best judgment points. So it says there's an open squad here. I'm just going to jump in and give a quick rundown on that. Let's make sure we're set. Okay. So this is a little bit of a different setup than most of your missions. So you don't technically have ammo cartridges. These are ammo cartridges. You've got energy and health drops around the map in random places. You're going to want to bring something that's got some sustainability. Who do I have in here? A Remnant Prime. He'll do okay. Basically, it's a first-person shooter arena style. So you're going to want to do what you can to get your kills. And then when you hit whatever the kill cap, I want to say it's 25, it wraps this one up, and you win and you get points. If they start killing you, they start getting points. That doesn't help you. So definitely bring decent damage, decent survivability frames. I run my Harrow because, well, I don't have to worry about energy the same as everybody else. Oh, weird. Okay. Bang around the corner here for a second. Get some stuff going. So this one was just a 25, so we just hit our 25 kills. When you go to the higher level arena, obviously they're higher difficulties. So that's just to get the points going. We'll see what we're actually at now that we are done with that mission here. So, yeah, you get 25 points, but it costs 10 to go in there. So, I'm assuming that one's higher. It's been a while. I'm not going to go through all of them, because there's no point. For this, I do recommend high survivability champions, frames, whatever they are this morning. Once again, I prefer my Harrow because there's a mass AoE that comes down, and it's kind of a pain. Jump in here and see if we get some people. If not, I'll run it solo. Kind of got a little bit of a superiority complex going.
Should I show them what we do to cheaters?
Oh, looks like it's just going to be me this run, so that's fun. It's not a big deal. I'm just, as long as I'm farming other things, as long as other people are coming along, I might as well get free help. Wrong direction. So this is your first weird room. These rollers are just annoying, but you've got these markers all the way around. So each of your persons have to stand in one of these switches. And in doing so, it starts a rotating thing. As long as you're on here, it keeps moving. You have to hit the green ones, and when all four of them, or one per person, I should say, then it brings you up here.
Snakes, you can be part of my story, but I don't think you'll like the ending.
So try not to get hit when she free falls. Basically just do some damage. After a little while, she runs away. Oh, my Fulman recharge here. It's not exactly the highest damage weapon that I have for this. And to be fair, she does do a lot of damage, but that's okay. We can cheat. Like most bosses, it's easy to do this in a party. So, after a minute... So, you can do a couple things. You can use your operator and just kind of disappear, because then you're pretty much immune to damage. But you can see the strikes falling down. And then ultimately, I go back to standing on these to re-engage this while the orbital strikes are falling down, which is kind of annoying. So, we're going to go back to... You can run around the perimeter. And then she should be coming back down. Oh. Otherwise, you can totally cheat and do it this way, which is what I prefer to do. You just stand here and take it. Invincibilities are great for this mission, that's all I'm saying. And you do have to re-engage all of these, so once again, this is a whole lot simpler with a party. Alright. Just coming back down. This is a rinse and repeat. You do this a few times and then she goes down and that's that. There you are.
I can help you become an executioner. You can kill all the Grenadier you want.
And she's back up top. Now, there is a walkway that goes around that disappears after the first barrage. So, if I would stop jumping into rockets, that would help. So generally, you just run around and sprint the exterior. Just keep moving is the biggest trick.
You can't kill me. I'm killing a thing. Damn it.
It's kind of an annoying boss run.
No more playing.
There we go. There we go. Not really the Best boss to 1v1. Let's just say that.
Nicely done, Tao. Defeating Kella in front of our audience will show all Grenier that there is another way.
So that's just the boss, and then of course you got to deal with your RNGs and everything else. I see somebody is logged in watching this live stream. If you're the same one that was in yesterday, I apparently didn't have my chat overlays up, so my chats do work now, hypothetically. So, switching over to Saryn. Her whole kit is poison based. So, status effects inflicted upon enemies last 25% longer. Spores is your primary one. I'm not on the right mod set.
If I may say, operator, your chosen Warframe suits you.
Is it that one? No. Had to tinker with some stuff, and I think it's this one. Yeah, and that would be the one. Okay. I'm like, those don't look right. So spores. Spores are kind of a weird setup. So Saryn, you want to run with maximum range or close to it. So the spores with this kit do 19.8 damage per second per spore. And they grow by 4 points a second. So that base 19, then 24, 28, and so on and so forth. But that's per spore. Now when you kill an enemy, I have to specify this. If the spores kill the enemy, the spores don't spread. If the enemy is killed while the spores are active, the spores spread to other nearby enemies. All of those spores also gain an additional 4 points per second. So, spread radius, 37.6 meters. So anybody in the area that has a spore on it dies within 40 meters, spreads to all of the other nearby enemies. Decay rate is one of those things that I tried to minimize as much as I could. That is when the spores are no longer active, how fast is your damage counter ticking back down. So, this will be easier to show than it is to explain. Efficiency makes some difference, but ultimately the spores are cheap. Molt, you basically just leave yourself a decoy. 1,000 hit points, does 800 points of damage, gets a multiplier. Nothing impressive. There are some augments that are cool. Toxic Lash is definitely helpful if you can get your durations up. So, while active, your attacks deal additional toxic damage. This effect is doubled for melee strikes. Also, instantly bursting spores when attacking afflicted enemies. So this allows you to spread your spores without recasting your spores, which reduces the damage counter. Then Miasma is 11-second debuff on your enemies. It does do damage per second, but the biggest thing it does is your spore damage multipliers at 4 times. So, we already killed that, covered that. Combine Toxic Lash with AoE weapons to effectively spread spores. Yes, flamethrowers are great. Cast Molt to give Saryn a movement speed boost. Yes. Recast Molt to detonate it to deal toxic damage and spread spores if the explosion kills them. Fun, I don't ever use it. Cast Molt while under heavy fire to convert incoming damage to health for Saryn's decoy. Also useful, but I don't really use it. Cast Molt to protect Saryn from enemy fire. There's a lot of things about Molt in here. Yes, it's useful. Um, maximize Spore's corrosive damage by inflicting enemies with multiple casts. Yes, you can pretty much stack them on top of each other, and then as long as that you get the kill shot and the Spores don't, it spreads real rapidly. Recast Miasma to refresh the status effect. Yep. Cast Molt to strip Saryn of all status effects and any attacks that can latch on. That is probably the most useful thing. So, moving off of that. Now, normally you would think max strength would be great because she's a DPS. The problem is because your damage is scaling per second, if your strength is too high, you won't ever get your spores to spread unless you're in like 100 plus levels, because everything doesn't have the hit points to soak it. So if you have to sacrifice something, sacrifice some strength. I have a high strength build, and I mean, now I'm looking at 25 base and 5 points per second. It's great, it chews through it. I have an ESO build, which I went for lower strength. The thing that I noticed is the reset decay was a lot higher than I wanted it, so I actually ended up raising it back up. So I've kind of got a mid-tier here. 183 duration, 75 efficiency, 235 on my range, and 198 on strength. So she's already doing damage. You might as well throw some armor reduction on there. You can do whatever you want with this slot. Doesn't really matter. 15% power strength, 99% strength. Overextended is pretty much required for her. So overextended and stretch is how you get to your 235 range. There is another mod that'll allow you to boost it a little bit further, but I haven't spent the time to farm it because I'm fine with 235. This does decrease your strength, so it's useful for that as well. So, I mean, technically, you could pull Blind Rage off. It would get you higher efficiency. So, let's take a look at what the change does. It just drops your base to 10 points and 2 points per second. Your status chance goes way down, though. So, status chance right now is at 99%. I like it that way. Vitality for some health, because she's a DPS. She's squishy. Base at like 225. More strength. More duration, and then just some efficiency to help compensate Blind Rage. So pretty straightforward there. We're going to go ahead and grab our lovely flamethrower. You do see her a lot for the Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, the ESO missions, just because she's got map clearing capacity. Works good for survivals, which is honestly where I'm going to jump in, not worry about that right now. So this is my go-to survival mission. I like killing infested, they're just fun. Obviously my armor debuff doesn't do much here, but that's okay. So what do we got here? You find an enemy, and I gotta get out of this. A little lower than I need to be. So, the counter in the bottom right shows me how many are infected currently and what my damage per second counter is. So, the trick is trying to keep that sucker rolling. So, the best thing to do is jump into a high enough level mission, which we are not, and let them spread. And then you will see way too low of a mission for my strength. You will see the damage ticks, so use those to try to track down where affected people are. Okay, this isn't gonna work. We gotta jump up a few more tiers. The thing with ESO is you're going to lose a chunk of your damage between waves because of the reset and everything else. So, well, that's okay. We're going to do it anyways. Now, my flamethrower doesn't do great here, but my Saryn does. And there's normally somebody running. The problem with bringing a Saryn to ESO is normally there's at least one or two others, because everybody knows Saryns are awesome for this mission. Okay. So this is a level 60-70 zone to start. As soon as the lag spike's over with here. So we've got 33 infected at 100 and, well, basically 200 points a second. I can hit my 4, and you just see that counter start climbing. Because it's scaling per spore per second, I think my base was 4 points per second. So that's 4 points per second multiplied by however many people, you know, the 15 that are currently infected. So I'm gaining 60 points of damage per second, approximately. Now, when you start getting low, you can use your 4th to kill them, which will also spread the spores. But basically, I would just watch the map, and I work on figuring out where my DPS counters went. So I'm watching for those status procs when I can see them. The highest I've gotten this up to is like 9k, and believe me, it's not easy. I'm like, hey, that's a lot of damage. Yeah, they've got to have the hit points to survive that kind of damage per second is the problem. That was the problem on the last mission. It wasn't high enough for the strength boosts. See over here, I've got one dude way out here on the outskirts that's still affected. If I can trigger him, I just went from 1 person to 18 for a split second there. I'm back to 1. Oop. Now we're decaying, so that you can see it's chunking down fairly quickly. So that's... doesn't matter who you target, just get it recast and get it out there and get it running again. So that's kind of the downside with the damage counter. If you can keep it up, it's awesome, but eventually you hit where either it's too strong for the zone, so you're in, or, you know, you run into a fluke and for some reason you're out of people to kill. Why, I couldn't possibly fathom, but it happens for some reason. Obviously, avoid nullifier spheres, because nothing sucks more than getting your damage counter up just to watch it disappear because you walked into a nullifying field. Let's see, we lost basically all of that. So then you just gotta speed crank it back out, get it spread. So I got my Toxic Lash running, so it's spreading. Every target I'm hitting that's got spores up is detonating and spreading to nearby other people. And the host DC'd. That's frustrating, because that means by the time I load in, I will have lost my damage counter again. So right now we're at 35 infected at 400 points a second. It does not take long to ramp up, nor does it really take long to ramp back down. So that's kind of the trade-off there. And I mean, you can just see the damage counters rolling. So if you're going to be doing extended long missions, ESO missions, anything like that, I mean, Saryn is definitely the frame to be. As long as, of course, your weapons and stuff will hold up for it, because My weapon's not great, but because of my status chances on there, it does auto-trigger my spores. And my spores do more than enough damage to sustain. So anyways, that's pretty much Saryn. I'll drop out after this wave's out and tab out and see if we got any questions or comments or anything. I'm up to 3k. There's only one left and he's that way. Oop, and he's gone.
Hunter, you are running out of time. Enter the data conduit. Hunter, the sanctuary will go on without you.
Yeah, so those are also one of the things where everybody goes to level. It's not my preferred, but I get it. The drops are decent there. So, anyways, that's Saryn. She's just kind of a fun kit. Great DPS. And then, I mean, I do still have plenty more frames that I can go through if I wish. Alright. No, yeah, hi. That boss does suck. Alright, well that's it for this. I'm gonna drop off. You guys have a good day.